His fingers closed around her wrist. "You have 10 seconds, he said. The monitors beeped, the hallway trembling under the harsh fluorescent lights. Her pulse thumped beneath his thumb. 3 hours ago, a phone had rung in the dark. A breath. A gunshot. Now he was counting. And she didn't flinch. Welcome to Seoul and Sable Stories. If you found us today, you were meant to be here. Hit that subscribe button now and join a family that doesn't do predictable love or safe choices. Drop a comment if you're ready for forbidden fire, mafia kings, and a black queen who refuses to bow. Now, back to where it all unraveled. The night shift at Gangnam General Hospital was supposed to be quiet. Zara moved through the corridor with the practiced efficiency of someone who had learned to be invisible, the kind of invisible that kept you employed in a foreign country, in a hospital where half the staff still looked at her like a question they hadn't decided to ask. She had been in Seoul 11 months. She had learned quickly, move fast, speak carefully, smile with your eyes only. She was mopping the floor outside room 412 when she heard the thud. Inside, Park Soo-won, the patient in 412, admitted 2 days ago for what his intake form called stress-related cardiac events, lay on the floor beside his bed. His phone had skidded under the radiator. His chest was still. Zara checked his pulse from instinct, not hope. There wasn't one. She pressed the emergency call button, reached under the radiator for the phone so it wouldn't get swept away in the chaos that was coming. That was her first mistake. The phone rang before she could set it down. Unknown number. She answered on reflex. She was a nurse. Answering was habit. "Is it done?" a voice said. Male. Cold. Certain. Zara's blood went still. She said nothing. The voice said nothing. Then click. The room flooded with hospital staff. In the confusion, Zara pocketed the phone without thinking. Evidence, some dormant part of her Lagos-born survival instinct whispered. Don't let it disappear. She should have let it disappear. Because 2 hours later, Park Hyun-woo walked through those hospital doors. She saw him before she recognized him. Everyone in Gangnam General saw him, you couldn't not. Tall, broad-shouldered, wearing grief the way powerful men wore everything, quietly, contained, like a storm that had already decided its destination. His face was Park Soo-won's face made harder, older, stripped of whatever softness age hadn't yet taken from the younger brother. Zara knew the name. Everyone in Seoul who paid attention knew the name. Park Hyun-woo. Chairman of the Baek Mountain Group, publicly. Head of the Baek faction. Privately. The kind of man whose photograph appeared on financial pages and whose name appeared in whispered warnings. The kind of man whose dead brother's phone was currently burning a hole in her scrub's pocket. She tried to leave. She'd been trying to slip past the commotion toward the stairwell when his gaze swept the hallway and landed on her like a weight. He had seen her pocket the phone. Of course he had. Men like him saw everything. Which brought her here. His grip on her wrist. His 10-second countdown. Her lungs forgetting their purpose. "I found it on the floor," she said. Her voice came out steadier than she deserved. "You answered it." "Someone called." "I didn't know, I'm a nurse," I answer. Something shifted behind his eyes. Not softening, recalculating. He stepped closer. Close enough that she could smell cedarwood and something colder underneath. Something that smelled like authority worn so long it had become skin. "What did they say?" She met his stare. Something in her refused to look away, the same stubborn thing that had kept her upright through 11 months of being looked through by people who thought her presence in Seoul was a temporary inconvenience. They asked if it was done. The silence that followed was the loudest thing Zara had ever heard. Park Hyun-woo released her wrist. Slowly. Like it cost him something. "Come with me," he said. Not a request. The grammar of a man who had never needed to make requests. "I have a shift. You have a choice." His eyes were steady. Dark. Absolute. "Come with me, or spend the rest of the night explaining to the men waiting in that parking lot why you were the last person to touch my brother's phone. I can't promise they'll be as patient as I am." Zara looked at him for a long, defiant moment. Then she took off her hospital lanyard and walked with him. The car was black, silent, the kind of vehicle that swallowed sound. His driver didn't look back. Hyun-woo sat beside her and said nothing for 11 minutes. Zara counted. You're not afraid, he said finally. Not accusatory. Curious, almost. Like she was a problem he was trying to categorize. I'm terrified, she said honestly. I just don't perform it. He looked at her then. Really looked. Like the answer had surprised him. Where are you from? Lagos. What brought you to Seoul? She almost deflected. Then, my younger sister. She has a rare blood disorder. The treatment protocol doesn't exist in Nigeria yet. I came for her. Something crossed his face too fast to name. How long? 11 months. I need another 8 to complete her treatment fund. And if you can't? She turned to the window. The city glittered below, indifferent and beautiful. Then I go home and watch her fade, and I live with that. Hyunwoo said nothing for a long time. My brother was murdered, he said at last, his voice stripped of everything performative. Raw underneath. Whoever called that phone helped arrange it. You are the only person alive who heard that voice. Zara turned back to him. The grief on his face was real. She recognized real grief. She had worn it herself, was still wearing it, just learned to dress it in professional courtesy and triple shifts. What do you need from me? Stay. Until I find them. You'll be safer inside my protection than outside it, and I'll make sure your sister's treatment costs disappear. The offer was enormous. It was also a cage. And if I say no? Then I take you back to the hospital, and I can't protect you from what comes next. He paused. I won't manufacture danger to coerce you. I'm telling you the truth. You are already in the middle of something you didn't choose. I'm offering you a way through it. Zara studied him. She'd become good at reading people, nurses had to be. She could read the difference between someone performing honesty and someone excavating it from somewhere it cost them. This was the second kind. One condition, she said. Name it. I keep working. I don't sit in your house like a kept secret. I have a life and I keep living it. The ghost of something crossed his face. She thought, impossibly, it might have been respect. Agreed, he said. The weeks that followed were the strangest of Zara's life. She moved into his penthouse, 32 floors above Seoul, glass and steel and silence, and kept her hospital shifts. His men drove her. She pretended not to notice them. He pretended not to track her schedule. They were both very bad at pretending. She found him one evening in the kitchen at midnight, frowning at a pot of jollof rice with the expression of a man defusing an explosive device. What are you doing? She asked from the doorway. My housekeeper said you hadn't eaten properly in 3 days. He didn't look up. I watched 3 instructional videos. The technique seems straightforward, but the ratios are unclear. Something cracked open in Zara's chest. She crossed the kitchen, took the wooden spoon from his hand, checked the rice. You burned the bottom. I'm aware. You used the wrong tomatoes. I bought what the video specified. The video was wrong. She moved him gently aside. Sit. Watch. Don't talk. He sat. He watched. And for 20 minutes, Park Hyung-woo, feared across 3 syndicates and 2 continents, sat quietly in his own kitchen and let a Nigerian nurse from Seoul teach him something. When she tasted the corrected pot and nodded, he exhaled like he'd been holding his breath the entire time. Why did you try to make it? She asked. You said it reminded you of home. I thought. He stopped. You thought what? His jaw worked. I thought you deserved to feel at home somewhere. Even here. She looked at him for a long time. She was in serious trouble. Over the weeks, the walls came down in fragments. She learned that Hyung-woo had inherited the Baek faction at 19 when his father died of a heart attack triggered by a betrayal he never named. She learned that Suwon had been the only person he trusted completely, that his brother's laugh had been the only sound that had reliably reached him through the glass he'd built around himself. She told him about her mother, who sang while she cooked and died of exhaustion before 40, worked into an early grave by a world that had asked everything from her and given little back. About Adise, her sister, 14 and furious and refusing to be defined by her illness. She sounds terrifying, Hyung-woo said. She's the best person I've ever known. Zara smiled. She argues with her doctors. Good, he said quietly. Don't let her stop. One night, Walking along the Han River after he'd taken her to a spot Suwon had loved, a small lookout point most tourists never found, he turned to her and said, without preamble, "I haven't brought anyone here before. Since him." Zara understood what that cost him to say. She didn't make it smaller by responding quickly. She let it exist in the air between them, let him feel that she had received it seriously. "Tell me about him," she said. He talked until 2 a.m. For the first time since the funeral, he talked about Suwon like he was real, not like he was a wound. When he finally stopped, he looked at her sideways. "You're the first person I've told any of that to. Then you've been surviving alone for too long. Haven't you?" She thought of 11 months of invisible shifts and burning loneliness and lying awake calculating treatment costs. "Yes," she said. "I have." His hand found hers in the dark. Didn't press. Just held. She didn't pull away. "Drop a comment right now if you felt that. Because this is where it gets dangerous. Not the guns. Not the syndicates. This quiet moment on the river is the most dangerous thing that's happened so far. Subscribe if you want to see what it costs them both." The kiss happened on a Thursday. She'd been reviewing his brother's case files with him, her idea, her insistence that a second set of eyes might catch what grief had blurred. She'd found a name repeated twice across 2 separate documents. A name that appeared on both Suwon's visitor log and on the Baek faction's internal investment records. "Shin Dong-won," she said, pointing. "He visited your brother 4 days before he died. And his company received a significant transfer from a Baek subsidiary 3 days after." Hyunwoo went very still. "I see it," he said. His voice was quiet. The quiet of something that had been waiting for shape and had finally found it. He looked at her then, and it wasn't gratitude. It was something older and more frightening than gratitude. Something that had been building for weeks in stolen kitchen moments and riverside confessions, and the particular way she refused to be invisible even when he'd initially tried to treat her like she should be. "Zara. Don't," she said. But softly. Like the word was a door she hadn't fully decided to close. "I'm not performing this," he said. "I don't know how to perform this. I don't think I've ever felt this before. You're grieving. I know what grief feels like. I've been grieving for 15 years. He stepped closer. "This isn't that." The kiss was not what she expected from a man like him. It wasn't claiming or urgent. It was careful. Reverent. Like something he had never allowed himself and was choosing, with full awareness, to allow now. She kissed him back because she was tired of surviving and calling it enough. The danger came 3 days later. Zara was at the hospital. Hyunwoo was moving on the Shin Dong-won intelligence she had found. His men were in position. Everything was controlled, contained, decided. Then her phone rang. Adi's clinic in Lagos. She answered, expecting routine. She got a voice she didn't recognize, male, unhurried, telling her that her sister's next treatment had been quietly cancelled. That the funding had been flagged. That these things could be reversed, of course, for the right conversation. "What do you want?" Her voice was ice. "Walk away from Park Hyunwoo. Tonight. Tell him you're finished. Don't explain. We'll know if you tip him off. Your sister's next infusion is in 48 hours. The call ended. Zara stood in the hospital corridor and thought about her mother, who had sacrificed everything for others until there was nothing left of herself. She thought about Adi's, who argued with her doctors and refused to be defined by her illness. She thought about Heinwa's hand finding hers in the dark. The careful, costly kiss. Then she thought about something else. Something no one threatening her had considered. She had been invisible in Seoul for 11 months. She knew every corridor of this hospital. She knew which consultants shared their login credentials, where the CCTV blind spots were, how the shift changes worked. She had been practicing invisibility so long she had accidentally become very, very good at it. She pulled up a contact on her phone. Not Hyunwoo. His head of security. A woman named Jisoo who had, 3 weeks ago, told Zara quietly, "If you ever need something handled without bringing it to him first, call me." "I need 40 minutes, Zara said when Jisoo picked up. "And I need you not to tell him yet." "What are you doing?" Jisoo asked. "Finishing it," Zara said. Comment right now if you want to see Zara fight back, because the woman they threatened made one critical mistake. They forgot that surviving for someone you love makes you fearless in ways that have nothing to do with weapons. The next 40 minutes were the most precise of Zara's life. She accessed the hospital's internal record system. She had legitimate clearance and found the visitor log for a patient treated 6 months ago under a shell company's insurance policy. Shin Dong-won, visiting under a false name. A different ward. A patient who had died in a way that had been recorded as natural causes. Not natural. She could see it now, the medication timing, the nursing notes, the gaps. She photographed everything. Sent it to Jisoo. This connects him to the hospital. To Suwon. And to whoever called that phone the night I answered. Jisoo was silent for 10 seconds. He's going to be furious that you did this without him, Jisoo said. I know. He's also going to be a pause. He's not going to be able to argue with you. I know that too. Hyunwoo found her in the hospital cafeteria at midnight, 20 minutes after Jisoo briefed him. He sat down across from her. Set a coffee in front of her. Looked at her for a long time. You should have called me immediately. They would have known. They said they'd cancel Adi's treatment if Adi's treatment was secured the moment I realized I was falling in love with you. No one can touch it. I should have told you that weeks ago. His voice was rough. Not angry. Something more exposed than anger. I'm sorry I didn't make you feel safe enough to trust me with this. Zara's breath caught. You're not angry? I'm terrified. The admission seemed to cost him. You went into that alone. You could have. He stopped. Started again. The evidence you found is what we needed to finish this. But Zara, don't go alone again. I can't protect you if you run toward danger without me. I wasn't running toward danger, she said quietly. I was running toward my sister. Same as you'd have run for Suwon. He looked at her for a long time. Then he reached across the table and held her hand with both of his. Careful. Like something he was still learning how to do. Don't disappear on me, he said. I've lost enough people. I'm not going anywhere, she said. I've stopped running. 2 weeks later, Shin Dong-won was arrested. The evidence, Zara's hospital records, Hyunwoo's intelligence, was enough to bring 3 prosecution files across 2 countries. Suwon's death was reclassified. The man who had called the phone was identified. The morning after the arrest, Zara woke up in the penthouse to the smell of something burning. She found Hyunwoo in the kitchen, frowning at a second attempt at jollof rice. You're doing it again, she said from the doorway. The ratios are still unclear. You used the same wrong tomatoes. The shop was out of the correct ones. She crossed the kitchen, moved him aside, took the wooden spoon. Why do you keep trying? She asked. He looked at her. Steady, dark, certain, but underneath all of it, something that had been frozen was warm now. Had been warming for months. Because someday I'm going to get it right, he said. And you're going to taste it and it'll remind you of home. And then you'll know, wherever you are, wherever we are, that I'm paying attention. That I see you. That you are never invisible to me. Zara Adeyemi, who had spent 11 months being looked through by a city that didn't know what to do with her, set down the wooden spoon. And she kissed the most dangerous man in Seoul in a kitchen full of burnt rice. And it felt, impossibly, like coming home. Outside, Seoul glittered 32 floors below. A city of deals made in shadows and loyalties tested in fire. A city that had tried to swallow her whole. She had refused to be swallowed. She had shown up, stayed upright, and somehow accidentally, inconveniently, completely found the one person in this city who would burn his own empire to make sure she was safe. She wasn't invisible here. Not anymore. But if you think this story is over, it has barely started. Because Shin Dong-won had a partner. Someone still in the shadows. Someone closer to Hyunwoo than anyone realizes. And the moment they discover that the Nigerian nurse is the reason their operation collapsed, they will come for her. Harder. With everything. Subscribe right now if you need part 2. Because the next chapter is going to destroy you in the best possible way. Drop a comment below, Team Zara fights back or Team Hyunwoo burns it all down for her. Let us know who you're rooting for. This is Seoul and Sable Stories. We don't do safe love here. We do the kind that changes you. Part 2 drops soon. Don't you dare miss it.